Daily 8 English podcast
from Daily8English.
Hey, fellow English learners. It's good to see you all. Welcome back to Daily 8 English, where 8 minutes a day builds the fluency of a lifetime. I'm Tom.
And I'm Olivia. Let's get started.
Olivia, I have a confession. I once told a story at dinner that was so long, the waiter came back 3 times and I was still explaining the beginning.
3 times? Tom, that is not a story. That is a documentary series with snacks.
Exactly. And the worst part was, I thought everyone was fascinated. Then I noticed one person checking the menu, one person checking their phone, and one person just nodding like a very polite robot.
Many English learners know that fear. You start telling a story and halfway through you think, is this interesting? Am I taking too long? Did I lose them?
Yes, storytelling in another language can feel risky because you are doing 3 things at once. You are remembering the event, choosing English words, and watching people's faces for signs of boredom.
And sometimes the story is actually good. The problem is not the experience. The problem is the way it is shaped.
That is the key word today, shape. A strong story is not just a list of things that happened.
It has a beginning that pulls people in, a middle that creates curiosity, and an ending that gives the listener a reason to care.
So today we are talking about how to tell a story that keeps people listening.
This is useful for casual conversations, networking events, interviews, presentations, team calls, and even small talk with people you have just met.
By the end, you will know how to start your story, how to organize it, how to add details without rambling, and how to finish with impact.
And perhaps Tom will learn how to finish before dessert arrives.
I am ready to grow.
Let's begin with the biggest mistake, starting too far back.
Ah, yes, the classic opening. So, in 2016, I had this colleague. But before I explain that, I need to tell you about my old manager.
And suddenly the listener needs a map, a family tree, and emotional support.
In English, a good story usually starts close to the interesting moment. You do not need to explain every background detail first.
Start with a hook. A hook is the first sentence that makes people think, wait, what happened?
For example, instead of saying, yesterday I went to a meeting, try, yesterday I almost congratulated the wrong person in front of the whole team.
That is much stronger because it creates a question in the listener's mind. Who was the wrong person? What happened next?
Another example. Instead of I had a problem at the airport, say, I learned the hard way that one tiny pronunciation mistake can send you to the wrong gate.
That gives the listener a reason to stay with you. It promises a situation, a little tension, and maybe a useful lesson.
So technique 1 is start near the moment of change.
Ask yourself, where does the interesting part actually begin? Then start there.
You can always add background later if people need it.
Now, technique 2. Use a simple story structure.
This is where many learners get stuck. They remember too much, so they tell everything in the order it happened.
But real life is messy. A good story needs a clean path.
Here is a structure you can use. Situation, problem, turning point, result.
4 steps. Very friendly. No drama degree required.
Situation means where are we and what is normal. For example, I was joining my first meeting with the London team.
Problem means what made the moment interesting. I wanted to sound confident, but I misunderstood one key phrase.
Turning point means what changed. Then Olivia sent me a private message explaining what they actually meant.
I would absolutely do that.
Result means what happened after that and why does it matter? I corrected myself calmly and the meeting continued without any awkwardness.
Notice how that structure gives the story movement. The listener can follow it without working too hard.
Let's hear a short version using that structure.
I was on a video call with a new client, and everyone seemed very serious. The problem was, I thought they were unhappy with my proposal. Then I realized they were just waiting for me to explain the budget. So I took a breath, walked them through the numbers, and suddenly the whole mood changed.
That works. We know where you are, what felt tense, what changed, and what the lesson was.
The lesson could be, silence does not always mean disagreement. Sometimes people are simply waiting for clarity.
And that is what makes a story useful. It is not just this happened. It is this happened, and here is why it matters.
Technique 3. Choose 2 or 3 strong details, not 10 weak details.
This one hurts me personally.
We know, Tom.
Details are important because they make your story feel real. But too many details can slow the story down.
Good details help the listener see the moment. Weak details make them wonder why you are still talking.
For example, if you say, "The meeting room was cold, the screen was frozen, and my manager looked at me like I had just broken the internet," that is vivid.
Very vivid. Also slightly painful.
But if you say, the room had 6 chairs, 1 table, a whiteboard, 3 markers, 2 windows, and a plant near the door, the listener may ask, is the plant important?
Unless the plant gives the presentation, probably not.
So use details that create emotion, tension, or clarity.
Ask, does this detail help the listener feel the moment? If yes, keep it. If not, cut it.
Here is a practical phrase you can use when telling a story. The funny thing was,
Or, what made it awkward was.
or the part I still remember is.
These phrases guide the listener toward the important detail.
Technique 4. Create tiny moments of suspense.
Suspense does not mean your story needs to be dramatic. You do not need a car chase.
Though if your English lesson includes a car chase, please send it to us.
Suspense simply means the listener wants to know what happens next.
You can create suspense with short sentences, pauses, and small questions.
For example, I opened the email, I read the first line, and then I realized I had sent the report to the wrong client.
That is much better than saying everything in one flat sentence.
You can also use phrases like, then something strange happened. At that moment, I realized. Here is where it got interesting.
These phrases are signposts. They tell the listener, pay attention, we are entering the good part.
But use them naturally. If every sentence is, then something shocking happened, people may stop trusting you.
Yes, do not turn your coffee story into a crime trailer.
Now, technique 5. Make the ending clear.
A weak ending is when the speaker just runs out of energy and says, so, yeah.
We have all done that.
A strong ending gives the listener a final thought, a lesson, or a reason to respond.
You can end with, that is when I learned, or since then I always, or so now I never.
For example, that is when I learned to check the recipient before I send anything important.
Or, since then I always ask one clarifying question before I assume the client is unhappy.
You can also invite the listener in. Has that ever happened to you? Or have you ever had a moment like that?
That turns the story into a conversation, not a performance.
And that matters. The goal is not to prove you are an amazing storyteller. The goal is to connect.
Let's put all 5 techniques together in one story.
Okay, I will try to keep it under 3 waiter visits.
Please do.
Last month, I nearly made a confident English mistake in front of a whole training group.
Good hook. I am listening.
I was leading a short session, and everything was going well. People were nodding, taking notes, looking serious in that professional way that makes you slightly nervous.
The international language of I am listening, but also judging the slide design.
Exactly. Then, someone asked me whether the next exercise was optional. I heard optimal. So I started explaining why the exercise was the best possible method.
Oh no.
Halfway through my explanation, I noticed 3 confused faces. Then one participant politely said, "Sorry, I meant, do we have to do it?"
Beautifully polite rescue.
I paused, laughed a little, and said, optional, not optimal. Thank you for saving me from giving a speech nobody asked for.
Nice recovery.
Everyone laughed, the tension disappeared, and I learned something useful. If one word changes the meaning, repeat it back before you answer.
That story works because it has a hook, a clear situation, a problem, a turning point, a result, and a lesson.
Also, emotional pain. Very educational.
Now let's move into today's word tour.
First word, hook. A hook is an opening line that catches attention.
You can say, start your story with a strong hook. For example, I almost missed my own presentation because of one email.
Second word, ramble.
To ramble means to speak for too long without a clear direction.
You might say, I realized I was rambling, so I brought the story back to the main point.
Third word, turning point. A turning point is the moment when something changes.
For example, the turning point came when the client finally explained what they really needed.
Fourth word, relatable.
If something is relatable, people understand it because they have experienced something similar.
A relatable story might be about joining a meeting late, forgetting a word, or misunderstanding a short message.
Fifth word, vivid. Vivid means clear, strong, and easy to imagine.
You can say, use one vivid detail, like the frozen screen or the silent room, to make the story feel real.
Sixth word, punchline. A punchline is the final funny or surprising part of a story or joke.
Not every story needs a punchline, but if you have one, do not explain it for 5 minutes afterward.
Guilty.
So here is your listener challenge.
Think of a small real-life moment. A mistake, a surprise, an awkward meeting, a travel problem, or a funny misunderstanding.
Then tell it in 4 steps: situation, problem, turning point, result.
Add one vivid detail, one useful lesson, and one final question for the listener.
Keep it under 1 minute. That limit will help you stay clear.
And if you want a starter sentence, use this. I realized something was wrong when...
That opening almost always creates curiosity.
So here's your reflection question. What is one story from your life that would be easier to tell if you started closer to the interesting moment? Just sit with that for a moment.
Because that honest reflection, that's where real growth lives.
If today's episode helped you, hit subscribe. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Tom.
I'm Olivia. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.